Now, growing up in Chicago, what was that like for you? Can you paint that picture for us?
For me?
Yeah.
Let me say it like that.
This is the story of how a retail store manager became the guardian of one of hip-hop's most valuable posthumous estates. When King Von was shot and killed outside an Atlanta hookah lounge on November 6, 2020, he left behind a music catalog, 3 children, and a mother named Taesha Bennett who had never worked a day in the music industry. 5 years later, that catalog has generated over 5.7 billion Spotify streams, and his estate has released 2 posthumous albums, one of which debuted at number 2 on the Billboard 200. Viral headlines claim his mother turned his murder into $20 million, but the real story is far more complicated. Today, we're going to break down exactly what happened after King Von died, who actually controls his estate, how much money it's really worth, the legal battles threatening to tear it apart, and the one decision Von made while he was alive that changed everything for his family after his death. Before we can understand how King Von's estate became what it is today, we need to understand the woman at the center of it all. Taesha Bennett was born around 1976 and raised Davon Daquan Bennett, the boy who would become King Von in Parkway Gardens on Chicago's South Side. Anyone familiar with Chicago gang culture recognizes that address immediately, because Parkway Gardens, also known as O Block, stands as one of the most notorious housing projects in the city, and it shaped everything about who King Von would become as an artist. Von's father, Walter E. Bennett, was killed on July 31, 2005, when Von was just 11 years old. That loss would define much of his music and his worldview, because he grew up without a father, surrounded by violence, in one of the most dangerous neighborhoods in America.
My parents weren't never, they weren't together when I was born. My father was in jail. Then he passed away after not too long after he got out. So my parents weren't really never together.
Do you know what he went to jail for?
No, not exactly, yeah, no.
He was in jail for a while?
Yeah, well, I met him when I was 8 or 7 or something. He was in jail all while, you see what I'm saying?
Here's something that often gets lost in the narrative about Taesha. She wasn't some music industry insider or manager or lawyer or entertainment executive, and according to reports, she worked as a retail store manager. Some sources claim she studied business in college, possibly at the University of Georgia, though this remains unverified. What we know for certain is that before Von's death, she had no public involvement in his music career. Von was the one taking care of her, buying her a Mercedes-Benz and a house. Then November 6, 2020 arrived, and everything changed. Let me walk you through what happened that night because the details matter. Around 2:15 in the morning, outside the Monaco Hookah Lounge in downtown Atlanta, King Von and his crew got into an altercation with the entourage of another rapper named Quando Rondo. What started as a fistfight escalated into gunfire, and when it ended, 3 people lay dead, including King Von, while 6 others had been wounded. Von's own manager, Jameson Francois, known as 100K Track, caught a bullet during the same incident and had to be hospitalized. Timothy Leaks, known as Lil Tim and part of Quando Rondo's crew, was arrested and charged with felony murder. King Von was 26 years old and had been a signed professional rapper for barely 2 years. His debut album, Welcome to O Block, had dropped just 1 week earlier, 7 days before he died, and it debuted at number 5 on the Billboard 200, while hitting number 1 on the top R&B/hip-hop albums chart. Mainstream success was just starting to arrive for him, and then he was gone. This moment split Taesha Bennett's life in 2. Before November 6, 2020, she was the mother of a rising rap star, and after that date, she became the guardian of his legacy. Here's the single most important fact about King Von's estate, and it comes from something his manager 100K Track revealed in an interview with DJ Academics shortly after Von's death. King Von owned 100% of his masters, and he never sold his publishing. Why this matters so much? Most artists in the music industry, especially young artists without leverage, sign deals that give record labels ownership of their master recordings. The label fronts money for recording, promotion, and distribution, and in exchange, they own the music, while the artist collects a royalty, often somewhere between 15 and 20% of revenue, sometimes even less. Von didn't do that. His deals with Empire Distribution were what the industry calls commitment projects, which are distribution-only arrangements where Empire handled the logistics of getting his music onto streaming platforms and into stores. But Vaughn retained ownership of the actual recordings and the publishing rights. And that's why when Vaughn died, his family didn't inherit a royalty stream. They inherited the music itself, which means every stream, every sale, and every sync placement sends the majority of that revenue directly to his estate, minus only distribution fees. Here's how 100K Track described it in that interview. Vaughn owned all his masters, and he wasn't an artist that sold his publishing, so everything belongs to him. And his kids and his family will be good for the rest of their lives. That one decision, retaining ownership rather than selling it, is the foundation of everything that came after. King Von was dead, his family was grieving, but a business still needed to run. Music was still being streamed, money was still coming in, and decisions needed to be made. Here's how the estate structure came together. Taesha Bennett became co-independent administrator of King Von's estate, sharing this role with another person named Taesha Bennett, whose exact relationship isn't specified in public records, and with Hometown Bank. The estate's business operations run through an entity called Forever and a Day, LLC, which holds King Von's intellectual property and trademark rights. On April 13, 2021, roughly 5 months after Von's death, Forever and a Day, LLC, filed a trademark application with the United States Patent and Trademark Office under serial number 90641437. The filing covers digital music, merchandise including hats, pants, sweatshirts, t-shirts, and hoodies, and music production services, with attorney Jeffrey S. Becker handling the paperwork. What this tells us is the estate moved quickly to protect and monetize Von's brand, because trademarks prevent unauthorized parties from selling King Von merchandise or using his name commercially. It's both a defensive move and an offensive one, establishing the legal foundation for a merchandise business. Here's something else worth understanding about how the estate actually operates day to day. Taesha Bennett isn't the public face of King Von's business affairs, because that role belongs to his manager, 100K Track. In an interview with The Shade Room in April 2022, 100,000 Track explained the dynamic by saying he's been in contact with Von's family and he cannot make any decision regarding Von without the estate approval, regardless of him being management. The structure works like this. Taesha and the other administrators make the ultimate decisions while 100K Track interfaces with labels, handles media communications, and executes on the business strategy. It's a partnership, but the family holds final authority. Let's talk about the numbers, because this is where the viral $20 million claim comes from. And this is where we need to separate fact from speculation. First, the hard data we can verify. As of early 2026, King Von has approximately 13.4 million monthly listeners on Spotify, which is more than 5 years after his death. Total Spotify streams sit at approximately 5.72 billion, which breaks down to about 3.5 million streams per day, still half a decade later. His biggest songs on the platform tell the story. Took Her to the O has over 850 million streams. Crazy Story. Part 3 sits around 480 million. The original Crazy Story has about 435 million. And Armed and Dangerous crossed 311 million. On YouTube, his channel has approximately 5.86 million subscribers and somewhere between 2.6 and 3.6 billion total views. And estimates suggest the channel generates around $69,600 per month in ad revenue, with total lifetime earnings exceeding $4.4 million. Now let's do some math on Spotify alone. The standard payout runs somewhere between 3 cents and 5 cents per stream, and at 5.72 billion total streams, that works out to between $17.2 million and $28.6 million in gross Spotify payouts over Von's entire career and posthumous period. Add YouTube revenue to that, then add other streaming platforms like Apple Music, Amazon Music, and Tidal, which typically generate an additional 30 to 50% of Spotify's numbers. Then add digital and physical sales. Then add merchandise from the official store at shop.kingvonofficial.com, where t-shirts sell for around $40 and hoodies run $70 to $80. When you add everything up, Total gross revenue likely falls somewhere in the range of $28 to $59 million. Gross revenue isn't the same as what the estate actually receives. Empire takes a distribution cut estimated at 15 to 25%, while management and legal fees take another 15 to 20%. And then there are taxes. After all those deductions, the net revenue flowing to the estate since Von's career began lands plausibly in the $15 to $30 million range cumulatively. Here's what you need to understand. No credible source has ever published an official $20 million estate value for King Von. Not Forbes, not Bloomberg, not Billboard. The number appears to have originated from someone's back-of-the-envelope streaming calculation, or possibly from confusion with Lil Durk's reported net worth of $20 million. What we can say with confidence is this: the estate has likely generated tens of millions in gross revenue, driven by 5.7 billion Spotify streams and full ownership of masters and publishing. That's still a remarkable achievement, but it's more complicated than the clean headline suggests. One of the most important decisions an estate can make after an artist's death is how to handle unreleased music. Release too much too fast, and you flood the market, devalue the catalog, and exhaust the fan base. But release too little, and you miss the window when cultural attention peaks. King Von's estate has been strategic about this. According to 100K Track, Von left behind over 300 unreleased songs, and Track described Von as a workaholic who constantly sought input on the music he was working on. 300 songs is roughly 10 albums worth of material, which means years of potential releases if managed correctly. The first posthumous album came on March 4th, 2022, about 16 months after Von's death, and it was called What It Means to Be King. Number 2 on the Billboard 200. That's where this album debuted, with 59,000 first-week units sold, and it marked King Von's highest chart position ever, higher than any album he released while he was alive. His audience didn't just maintain after his death, it grew. The estate waited another 16 months before the second posthumous release, and Grandson dropped on July 14, 2023, debuting at number 14 on the Billboard 200 with approximately 30,000 first-week units. Here's where Taesha Bennett's direct involvement becomes documented. According to multiple sources, she personally hand-selected every track on Grandson, and she also chose to feature Von's son, Davon Bennett Jr., on the album cover. This wasn't just a business decision. It was a statement about family and legacy. Hype Fresh described her involvement by saying that since his tragic passing in November 2020, Taesha has taken up the torch to ensure her son's voice remains in the mix, and her involvement in releasing Von's posthumous album, Grandson, was pivotal, curating tracks that kept his storytelling sharp and his energy alive. The spacing of these releases, roughly 16 months apart, shows discipline. The estate could have rushed out multiple projects immediately after Von's death to capitalize on the attention, but instead, they maintained anticipation and cultural relevance by being patient. December 20th, 2024. That's when something interesting happened, because the Recording Industry Association of America certified 3 King Von projects on the same day. Welcome to O Block was certified platinum, Grandson, Volume 1 was certified gold, and LeVon James was certified gold. All 3 certifications arriving on the same date isn't a coincidence. RIAA certifications don't happen automatically, because labels and estates have to submit applications and provide sales data. The fact that all 3 came through on the same day suggests a coordinated batch certification request. The estate likely did this to generate a wave of press coverage to validate the catalog's commercial significance and to position themselves ahead of potential future releases or business negotiations. The individual song certifications tell an impressive story as well. Crazy Story is 3 times platinum, Took Her to the O is 3 times platinum, Armed and Dangerous is platinum, All These Ends featuring Lil Durk is platinum, and The Code featuring Polo G is platinum. These certifications represent millions of units sold and hundreds of millions of streams, and they're tangible proof that King Von's music has commercial staying power years after his death. Now we need to talk about the legal battles, because they've shaped everything about the estate's trajectory. Let's start with the man accused of killing King Von. Timothy Leaks, known as Lil Tim, was arrested on November 7, 2020, the day after the shooting, and charged with felony murder. But here's where the case took a turn Von's family never expected. March 2021 arrived, and Lil Tim posted $100,000 bond and walked out of custody. Then, On August 20th, 2023, all charges against him were dismissed entirely. Under Georgia's Stand Your Ground law, prosecutors couldn't establish that he wasn't acting in self-defense, and he was never indicted. Von's family expressed outrage on social media after waiting nearly 3 years for justice, only to watch the case collapse. What made matters worse was that Lil Tim subsequently released music that appeared to reference the outcome. The man accused of killing their son was free and seemingly celebrating. This was a devastating blow for the family, but it wouldn't be the last legal battle they would face. October 9, 2024, brought a new legal threat to the estate, this time coming from the other side. Lashina Weekly, the mother of slain Chicago rapper FBG Duck, filed a wrongful death lawsuit in Cook County, Illinois. The defendants named in the lawsuit include King Von's estate, Forever and a Day LLC, Lil Durk, OTF Records, Empire Distribution, Sony Music, and Universal Music Group. The allegations are explosive. According to the lawsuit, which cites FBI informant testimony, King Von placed a $50,000 to $100,000 bounty on FBG Duck's life. The lawsuit also points to Von's song, Took Her to the O, as evidence, noting that the track depicts killing a character named Duck and was released 6 months before FBG Duck's actual murder. Attorney Roosevelt Allen III, who represents FBG Duck's mother, frames OTF, Only the Family, Lil Durk's collective, as a criminal enterprise that used real violence as what he calls guerrilla marketing. FBG Duck was shot and killed in Chicago on August 4, 2020, 3 months before King Von himself would be killed. The two murders are now legally intertwined through this lawsuit. In February 2025, Kayla B., King Von's sister, claimed on Instagram that the lawsuit had been dismissed, but this claim remains unverified in court records as of the research date. This lawsuit represents an existential threat to the estate because if the allegations are proven, the financial and reputational damage could be catastrophic, and if dismissed, it becomes another chapter in the violent narrative surrounding King Von's legacy. The biggest legal earthquake came on October 24, 2024, almost exactly 4 years after Von's death. Lil Durk was arrested on federal murder for hire charges. The allegation is that he orchestrated a hit on Quando Rondo in retaliation for King Von's death. Let me explain what allegedly happened. August 19, 2022, gunmen ambushed Quando Rondo at a gas station in Los Angeles, and they killed Rondo's cousin, Saviaya Yechezo Razum Abia Rabit A. Yeshe Ben Sandar Stenson, known as Lul Pav. Federal prosecutors allege that Lil Durk ordered this hit as revenge for Von's murder. Durk faces potential life imprisonment, and his trial is currently scheduled for August 25, 2026. In a significant ruling, a federal judge has determined that rap lyrics can be used as evidence in the case. Why does this matter for King Von's estate? There are 3 major reasons. First, it entangles Von's name in ongoing federal proceedings even though he's deceased, and every news story about Durk's trial will mention King Von. The narrative around his death becomes not just a tragedy, but part of an alleged criminal conspiracy. Second, Durk was Von's closest collaborator and mentor. Von was signed to OTF, and Durk appeared on multiple Von tracks, including posthumous releases. The estate has released music through the OTF and Empire partnership, and if Durk is convicted, that entire business relationship becomes radioactive. Third, this gives ammunition to the FBG Duck lawsuit. If federal prosecutors establish that OTF associates engaged in murder for hire, it strengthens the argument that OTF functioned as a criminal enterprise. The August 2026 trial date means the estate will operate under this cloud of uncertainty for months to come. February 2026 brought an Illinois appellate court ruling that could fundamentally reshape the estate's legal exposure. Here's the background. King Von lived in both Chicago and Atlanta, and after his death, questions arose about his legal domicile, essentially which state he was officially a resident of for legal purposes. This matters because different states have different deadlines for filing claims against an estate. Illinois has a 2-year filing deadline for certain claims. A Will County probate court had previously dismissed some claims against the estate as time barred under this 2-year rule, but the 3rd District Court of Appeals reversed that decision. The appellate court ruled that King Von's legal domicile at the time of his death must be determined before claims can be time barred. The estate can't use Illinois' short filing deadline to shield itself from claims until there's a definitive ruling on whether Vaughn was actually an Illinois resident. If Vaughn was legally domiciled in Georgia, then the 2-year Illinois deadline would only protect a small portion of Illinois-located assets. The bulk of the estate, meaning music rights, royalties, and intellectual property, could be subject to longer claim periods under Georgia law. This ruling could reopen the estate to previously dismissed claims, and it adds another layer of legal uncertainty to an already complicated situation. April 2023 brought a different kind of battle to the estate, one over narrative control. A YouTuber named Trap Lord Ross released a documentary called King Von, Rap's First Serial Killer, running over 4 hours long and alleging that Von was connected to 10 murders. The documentary went viral, and Von's family was furious. April 9th, 2023, just 2 days after the documentary was uploaded, it was removed from YouTube. According to reports, Von's cousin Balo was instrumental in getting it taken down. 2 days later, on April 11th, the documentary was re-uploaded in edited form, and it remains controversial to this day. This incident highlights a tension the estate will face forever. King Von's music was explicitly about street violence, and his storytelling drew from real events, real beefs, real bodies. That's what made him compelling as an artist. But it also means that documentarians, journalists, and content creators will continue to dig into the darker aspects of his biography. The estate has pushed back. A spokesperson released a statement in March 2025 regarding leaked footage that allegedly showed Vaughn making certain admissions, and the statement read that they asked people to honor Dave Vaughn's memory as an artist and father, not these unproven stories. But controlling the narrative of a figure like King Von is essentially impossible, because the same authenticity that made his music resonate is the authenticity that invites scrutiny. The estate isn't just a business operation, it's a family, with all the complications that implies. Kayla B., King Von's half-sister, has been one of the most visible defenders of his legacy on social media, engaging in public disputes, responding to critics, and promoting his music. She also claimed the FBG Duck lawsuit was dismissed, though this hasn't been verified. Vaughn had 2 to 3 children from different mothers, with the exact number disputed across sources, and trust funds have been established for all of them, according to 100K Track. Vaughn's son, David Bennett Jr., appeared on the cover of the Grandson album, and his mother is a woman named Kima. Public feuds have erupted within and around the family as well. Asian Doll, Vaughn's ex-girlfriend, has clashed repeatedly with his relatives, and in March 2025, Kayla B. claimed that Vaughn didn't actually like Asian Doll and only used her for clout. Asian Doll defended their relationship as genuine and meaningful. These personal conflicts play out on social media, often in real time, adding another layer of drama to the estate's public profile. Here's something that might surprise you, given the mother built a $20 million empire narrative. Taesha Bennett has given virtually no formal media interviews about business strategy, estate management, or financial decisions. Her communication happens primarily through Instagram posts on her account, which has over 178,000 followers. She shares memorial tributes, photos with family, and occasional statements about Vaughn's legacy. But she's not appearing on podcasts or sitting for magazine profiles explaining her business approach. The public-facing business spokesperson is 100K Track. He's the one who explained the master ownership situation, discussed the unreleased music vault, and interfaces with media outlets. Taesha operates as what you might call a behind-the-scenes executive. She makes the decisions, but she's not the one announcing them. In May 2025, she went viral for an unexpected reason: her appearance. At approximately 49 years old, she looked so youthful that social media couldn't stop talking about it, and multiple outlets covered the story. It generated headlines and kept the King Von name in cultural conversation through a completely unexpected angle. Some sources describe a foundation in Von's name aimed at helping young people, but no official foundation registration has been located, so this remains unverified. Let's return to that 300-song vault because it represents the estate's most significant unreleased asset. According to 100,000 Track, Vaughn left behind over 300 unreleased songs, which is approximately 10 albums worth of material at standard album length. What does this mean practically? The estate can continue releasing music for years, potentially a decade or more, if they manage the catalog carefully. So far, 2 posthumous albums have drawn from this vault: What It Means to Be King in 2022 and Grandson in 2023. As of early 2026, no third posthumous album has been officially announced. This might seem like a missed opportunity, but there's strategic logic here. First, the legal situation is volatile. With Lil Durk's trial approaching in August 2026 with the FBG Duck lawsuit status uncertain, with the Illinois appellate ruling opening potential new claims, this might not be the ideal moment to drop a major release. Any new King Von project right now would inevitably get caught up in these controversies. Second, spacing releases maintains their cultural impact. Each posthumous album becomes an event rather than just another drop. And the longer the wait, the more anticipation builds. Third, the catalog is already generating substantial passive income. Those 3.5 million daily Spotify streams don't require new releases because the existing music keeps working. 300 songs. That's the insurance policy for the estate's future. Unrealized value waiting to be deployed at the right moment. Let's try to put a realistic number on this estate, acknowledging what we know and what we don't. At the time of King Von's death, Celebrity Net Worth estimated his net worth at around $750,000. And this was before the posthumous releases, before 5 years of streaming growth, before the RIAA certifications. Various entertainment blogs have since estimated his estate value at anywhere from $1 million to $10 million. But these estimates vary wildly and generally aren't based on verified financial documents. Here's what we can calculate from public data. Spotify alone, at 5.72 billion streams, has likely paid out between $17 million and $29 million gross over Von's career and posthumous period. YouTube has generated an estimated $4.4 million or more in total earnings. Other streaming platforms likely contributed an additional 30 to 50% of Spotify's numbers. And you can add merchandise, physical sales, sync licensing, and other revenue streams on top of that. Total gross revenue since the start of Von's career likely falls somewhere between $28 million and $59 million. After distribution cuts to Empire, management fees, legal costs, and taxes, net revenue to the estate sits plausibly in the $15 to $30 million range cumulatively. Here's the distinction that matters. Revenue is not the same as current estate value. The money that has come in over 5 years has been distributed, going to trust funds for Von's children, to Taesha and other family members, to operations, legal fees, accounting, and marketing. It's paid taxes. The current value of the estate depends on the present value of future royalty streams, the 300-song vault, trademark and merchandise rights, and any other assets, minus liabilities like ongoing legal costs and potential lawsuit settlements. A realistic estimate? The estate's current value is likely in the mid-single-digit to low double-digit millions. But no official valuation has ever been published, and anyone who claims to know the exact numbers guessing. Let's zoom out and consider what King Von's estate represents in the broader context of hip-hop. Posthumous releases have become a major part of the music industry. XXXX, Intense, and Takes, Ian, Juice, WRLD, Pop Smoke, Nipsey Hussle, Mac Miller. The artists die, but their catalogs keep generating revenue, sometimes for decades. What makes King Von's situation somewhat unique is the ownership structure. Because he retained his masters in publishing, his family captures a much larger share of revenue than families of artists who sign traditional deals. They're not collecting 15% of streaming royalties. They're collecting the ownership share. This creates an interesting template for young artists negotiating deals, because King Von's story makes a powerful argument for retaining ownership even if it means less upfront money. The long-term value of owning your masters can be transformative for your family. It's also a story about what happens when street violence collides with commercial success. Von was killed at 26, just as he was breaking through, and the violence that shaped his music ultimately took his life. Now, 5 years later, federal prosecutors are allegedly connecting his murder to a chain of retaliation that led to more deaths. His mother is left to manage not just a business, but a legacy intertwined with tragedy. As of early 2026, the estate sits at a crossroads. On the positive side, 3.5 million daily Spotify streams provide reliable baseline income, and the 300 Song Vault offers years of potential releases. December 2024. RIAA certifications demonstrate continued commercial relevance. Trademark protections are in place, and the business infrastructure exists. On the negative side, the Illinois appellate ruling in February 2026 could expose the estate to new claims. The FBG Duck lawsuit status remains unclear, and Lil Durk's August 2026 trial threatens to reshape the public narrative around Vaughn, OTF, and everyone connected to them. The man accused of killing Vaughn walked free, and his family never got justice in criminal court. No third posthumous album has been announced, which might be caution given the legal headwinds, or it might simply be strategic patience. Taesha Bennett continues to maintain Vaughn's public memory through social media, memorial tributes, and her presence in the culture. She's become a figure in her own right, the mother who guards the flame. Let's return to where we started. This is the story of how a retail store manager became the guardian of one of hip-hop's most valuable posthumous estates. But it's not the simple success story the viral headlines suggest. It's messier, more legally complicated, and more uncertain. Taesha Bennett didn't build an empire from scratch. She inherited a catalog with 100% master ownership because her son made a smart business decision while he was alive. She partnered with his manager, 100K Track, to navigate an industry she had never worked in. She made creative decisions like hand-selecting tracks for grandson and putting her grandson on the cover. She defended her son's memory against documentaries and social media attacks. The estate has likely generated tens of millions in gross revenue, but it's also facing multiple lawsuits, federal investigations, and an appellate ruling that could expose it to new claims. The man accused of killing Vaughn was never convicted, and the mentor who helped build Vaughn's career is awaiting trial on federal murder-for-hire charges. This is what turning murder into millions actually looks like. It's not a clean transformation. It's a grieving mother making business decisions while lawyers circle. It's 2 posthumous albums dropped into a landscape of violence and legal exposure. It's 5.7 billion streams and ongoing trauma. King Von's streaming numbers suggest his audience will be listening for years to come, and the 300 unreleased songs mean new music could drop for a decade. The RIAA certifications prove the catalog's commercial viability. Whether the estate can survive its legal battles, whether Taesha Bennett can maintain her son's legacy against the forces trying to exploit or diminish it, and whether the $20 million narrative holds up to scrutiny, those questions remain open. What we can say for certain is this: Davon Daquan Bennett owned his masters. He never sold his publishing. And because of that decision, made by a young man who wouldn't live to see his 27th birthday, his family controls his legacy. Everything else, the money, the lawsuits, the posthumous releases, the viral headlines, flows from that foundation. That's the real story. If you made it this far, drop a comment letting me know what you think about how the estate has handled Vaughn's legacy. And if you want to see more deep dives like this, make sure you're subscribed.